Depois de assistir esse papo, entra no meu site, o rafibastos.com. Eu tô em turnê pelo mundo e vou adorar te encontrar. Ingressos já disponíveis para os meus shows na Austrália e na Europa. Corre lá! O meu convidado dessa reestreia do Mais Que 8 Minutos é ator, apresentador, dançarino, ilustrador e ex-jogador de futebol americano. Você conhece ele da série Todo Mundo Odeia o Chris, ou então do filme As Branquelas, da franquia Os Mercenários ou do programa America's Got Talent. Certeza que você também é muito fã dele. Batendo um papo comigo hoje, Terry Crews. Terry.
My man.
Such a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Oh, it's a pleasure to see you
so
again.
So good to see you. Yes, my friend. Yes. When I told people that I was going to talk to you, people in Brazil love you, right?
First of all, the love. I got goosebumps. You see it. It just popped up. They give me so much love, and I love it right back. It's I told you a little bit earlier, but I'm going to say it again. You don't get to choose who loves you. Mm-hmm. The fact that my wife loves me is her decision. It's not my decision. My wife, we've been together 35 years, and I feel the same way about Brazil. Like Brazil has just said, we love you, and it's unconditional. And we just take you and we make you ours. And I said, and when you feel that, it's just, and it just starts this cycle because I love them right back.
Do you know why there's this connection? Do you have any idea or how this happened?
I think one thing is I'm passionate. Uh-huh. And I think Brazil feels my passion about everything. I'm passionate about art. I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about the way I perform. I mean, a lot of times when I started to perform, even, in the beginning of my entertainment career, I was really big. Like, I would go in and do auditions and people are like, whoa, that's too much. That's too much.
You're saying big on the acting.
Yeah, I was
faces.
When they see this, they're like, whoa. But that's the style that Brazil is. Brazil is colorful. It's energetic. It's lively. Let me tell you, a lot of things about when you look at American entertainment, it's all like, so I think that... It's very subtle and little, and people go, but that's not me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm like, bam, I really like that. Yeah. It's the things that made me laugh and the things that made me enjoy it, but that's what I think it's kind of clicked. With Brazilians is the fact that, because it kind of comes from football for me, because when I remember playing in the NFL and playing in football, and you could injure yourself or die at any moment. And that's the thing. Like, I remember running down the field and bah, and getting that first hit, and you're slamming your body into other people at 100 miles an hour. And there's no way to do that calmly. You know what I mean? There's no way to just kind of walk in. You're going to get your head pulled off.
And it's very difficult to jump from like being that to just this guy.
Yeah. I've never been that. So I kind of take that and put that into my entertainment where it's like, I want that hit. I like that. And then you can calm it down, But I think that's one of the things that people saw in me, and it just kept going and kept going. Also, one of the early things, we did The Expendables.
The movie, yeah. And was it there? You guys shot
we
there?
We shot in Rio.
In Rio, yeah.
It was. I'll never forget it. It was my first time being with all these action stars and Stallone and Dolph Lundgren and Jason Statham and Jet Li. It was so cool, and we were all in Rio together. And I remember running on the beach, and people were filming me. Like, you could see it on the internet. They were running. I remember I just went for a run on the beach, and I ran into a guy by the name of Elio de la Peña.
Yeah, well, Elio de la Peña is a good friend.
Yes.
He's my friend.
Elio was like, I'm on TV, I'm an actor. And I was like, oh, man. I said, what do you do? He said, I have this show, Casetes and Planetas. And I said, oh.
It's so good to see you say that.
I know. And I went and I said, wait a minute, man. I said, and I looked at some of the stuff online. Because it was the early days of the internet back then. I mean, literally, it just wasn't as far advanced as it was, because this was around 2009, around that time. And dude, I said, I would love to come see you do your show. And he said, Dave, come be on the show, right? And I was like, okay. And I visited him at Global TV, And Elio just looked out for me. And the thing is, I couldn't act. Like, he wouldn't, because of the rules, they wouldn't let me play a character. But I could play myself.
You could be yourself.
So I remember we had this thing called Querido o Bombero. So I'm not saying it right, but it was Bombero. And
a fireman.
The fireman.
Bombero. You said right.
Bombero.
You said right.
And I said, and Elio sat me there. He said, you just stand there and be Terry Crews. And he said, and so Elio's like, I have Terry Crews. He's trying to see you. And I was like, hi, I'm Terry Crews. And I'm yelling at this fireman on the wall, right? And it hit with Brazil. So when people started to see, they're like, wow, this guy's willing to come do our comedy.
Yes.
I had such a fun day. It was, and listen, and also I had a guide named Tony who took me all around. Tony Santos. I'll never forget this. He took me all around Brazil. He was the sweetest man ever. I said, Tony, man, if I could bring you back to the States, because I wasn't making a lot of money. I said, but you are such a good man. And he would take me to eat. I remember getting the Brazilian steakhouses and the food, and then he took me to see Christ the Redeemer. And then I actually went to his house and ate dinner with his wife and his kids. And because it was home, and it made me feel at home. And I said, man, I love this. And Tony, it made it a spiritual thing for me. And I think that people feel that especially when I talk Brazil and the fact that I was there, it just creates this connection that just would never go away.
Desculpa interromper esse papo maravilhoso com o meu parceiro Terry Crews, mas eu tenho que mostrar minha musculatura e o jeito que ela fica trabalhada nessa camiseta. Nessa camiseta da Insider, gente, eu fico o Terry Crews. Exatamente. É claro que na volta do meu Mais Que 8 Minutos, a Insider tinha que estar comigo de novo. Claro. Essa é a icônica Tech T-shirt da Insider. Ela é número 1 em conforto, maciez, entendeu? E tecnologia. A camisa da Insider tem coisas incríveis, gente. Que eu, por exemplo, vou dar um exemplo para você. Uma camiseta que você não precisa lavar tanto. Uma camiseta que você não precisa passar. E sem dúvida uma camiseta que quando você coloca, ela encaixa direitinho e desamassa no corpo. Isso é absolutamente brilhante. Uma camiseta incrível que você tem que ter no seu guarda-roupa. Com tamanhos que vai do menorzinho até o gigantesco. Vai agora, entra no site da Insider, usa o cupom Rafinha, tá bom? E adquire a tua camiseta perfeita agora mesmo. Insider, tamo junto.
Terry, first of all, like, it's so good. Like, I work with so many different people, and you can see that people sometimes are different in camera and outside of the camera. And I'm a witness. Terry's this guy even when we are not shooting. You're a happy guy. You're a positive guy.
Yes.
We did this project, the Ultimate Beastmaster.
Beastmaster.
You are the name.
Yeah.
And you are just one of us. And we never felt that you are in another place. And so it's very refreshing to see a guy like you being who you are everywhere, you know?
Rafi, let me tell you, man, I got to tell you, the thing is, you got to understand where I'm from. Flint, Michigan is one of the worst cities in America. To survive it, it was horrible. Drugs, a lot of crime, a lot of poverty. And when I look at where I am just filled with gratitude. Like, you got to understand, coming to Los Angeles was like going to Mars. I mean, it was no way there. Like, just imagine, like, can we get to Mars?
Yeah.
No way. I don't know. Or would you even survive that journey, you know? And to find out I am in Mars. Not only am I in Mars, I'm doing really well here.
I conquered Mars.
You know what I mean? You're like, that's how I feel all the time. It's like I look around and see the things that I've done and places I've gone, and I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. And let me tell you, at no point have I ever got like, I deserve this. Because I don't. I know, because it's nothing.
Why if you don't?
Well, because
you work so hard.
No,
to be here.
because wait, first, talent is not enough. Working hard is not enough. I know a lot of people that are super talented that don't have half of what I got. I know people who work all day, all night, and still don't have anything near what I got. What I have is blessings that you feel the universe has said, because you're grateful, I can give you more. But as soon as you get ungrateful, everything starts to shrink. Everything contracts. I've seen it happen. I've watched people who are super successful and they get arrogant and they feel like I should have had it. And all of a sudden, everything just starts to get smaller and smaller and they disappear. I've been in this business 25 years. And you watch people just go from here to like, and you wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Because they were never grateful. They were never thankful. And so I realized that was the trick. I saw it happen because I used to do security on movie sets and shows. And I used to watch people be very rude to the cast, rude to other people, totally arrogant. And it was, and I'll be honest, man, it's like God told me, he said, hey, man, these are not your people. These are my people. Listen, it literally hit me because there's a moment where you want to get mad at somebody and you want to be like,
Did you feel that?
I felt it many times where you feel like, you know who I am. And all of a sudden, while I'm opening my mouth, it's like, these are not your people. These are my people. And you feel like, treat them like your brother or your sister or your mother or your father. As that's everybody in this business, everybody around, they deserve this respect. So no matter how mad you get, no matter how angry you are, no matter whatever, these are not your people. They're mine. And I said, got it. Now I understand it.
When you are a star, there's so many people serving you.
Right.
It's very easy to just don't look at them, right?
Yeah.
You just don't look at them, and then all of a sudden they're like extras in your amazing life.
Yeah.
So you don't see them as human beings. You see people are more like servers, and you probably saw that happening a lot.
Listen, and there's a time when it starts because it's a temptation. It's very tempting to do because you realize whatever you say they'll do, and you realize but then you start to wonder, wait a minute, because I had to look at it like, wait, there was a time when I was one of these guys. And I was looking at somebody and I go, and the trust is, I'm so in awe of you. What do you want me to do? And someone would lead you wrong and you remember feeling like, because have you ever been burned like that? I've been burned like that.
Yeah.
Meeting my heroes and they were horrible people.
Worst.
I'll never say a name, but I remember going up on people and going, hey, how you doing? And like, leave me alone. And you're like, the one thing that I gave you my heart. I gave you everything and you went and you smashed it.
Yeah, I know. People go out of their way to talk to you, to have something, because you're in their house every day almost, and then all of a sudden, the world crashes down. It's.
And this is the thing too. A lot of times, people say, "Oh yeah, Terry, you're such a nice guy," but I don't deal with bullshit. Like I like to call people on their bullshit. If someone's coming up to me and they're being rude to me. I'm not, people go, oh, well, you're Terry, you're supposed to be nice. I'm like, hey, I'm a grown man as well. So it's one of those things where I learned a long time ago to let my yay be yay and my nay be nay. And this is what this means. What it means is you'll never wonder what I'm thinking. If I'm really having a bad time, tell them. If I don't like something, say it. If I like it, say it. If you're thankful, say it. You know what I mean? And so what people are realizing is that, because what you might see is me being actually like thanking you and being appreciative. But you don't see a lot of times when someone's treated me wrong, it's like, hey, I called you on that. You know what I'm saying? And so I like to be just a full human being and no games, no wondering. Like, have you ever had somebody who says, oh, I like you? I have friends who are like, yeah, and then turn around and like, oh.
But it's very difficult. I don't know if can you read those people before they act this way? Like,
you always catch it. See, that's I've had a horrible.
You don't know if people are fake or not.
I'll never forget going.
And in Los Angeles, it's a place where it's like everybody's like, is this guy actually happy to see me? Is this an act? What's going on here?
But look, this is the thing. It's not an act. all my acting is on the screen. One thing that I realized, because you can't, because it makes you fake. I went into a trailer one time, and I remember saying hey to this lady, and she was a big star, and I was like, hey, and she was like, hey, oh, hey, hey. And I remember putting my hat down, and I walked out, and I forgot my hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember turning around, and the door was cracked open. She was like, she was saying all this bad stuff about me. And I looked in, and I remember walking in, and she went, and I got my hat. And I walked out. Man, she was embarrassed. I was embarrassed.
But not saying anything was even worse for her.
Oh, yeah. But I said, I'll never do people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Never. You just can't. To me, to be that phony and that fake, one thing too, though, I had to put it to her, was the fact that she felt that bad about herself. To treat people that way, mm-hmm. you can't go home feeling great about being that person. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I want to feel, I've got so many, and this is another thing, Rafi. I've done a lot of bad things. I could tell you, I did some of the stupidest things, even as a married man. I remember, I was unfaithful to my wife at one time, and one lie turns into another lie, turns into another lie. And I remember like waking up and I was like, I don't like me. I'm a horrible person. And listen, people can say anything about anybody else, but there's no person I hurt more on this earth than my wife. And we're still married. We're still together. But I had to change. I had to realize, wait a minute, because one thing is I love the image. And the image was the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, look at who I am. I'm this and this. And then you turn around and you go, I'm tired. Because what happens is you're two people. Mm-hmm. You're the image, and then you take it down, and you're like, okay, now I'm this. Mm-hmm. And it's exhausting. And I realized even through therapy and once me and my wife started to work it back, like together and really work, because I wasn't being honest. And it was like, man, everything is in honesty. Everything is, you tell because one thing is you're scared to tell your wife what you like or don't like mm-hmm. because you think she's not going to like it. But she's like, tell me. If you just told me in the beginning, mm-hmm. we would have been fine. But you're trying to play this image game. And what happened is my wife married a person that she didn't even know because it was the image.
Even for her it was the image.
Even for her.
That's
and this is early. We got married young. So I got married the day before my 21st birthday. We were dating at 19 and the whole thing. So you're thinking you're running that game. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to learn these lessons. And I learned them the hard way. And I had to rebuild my life. I had to take it all down, Rafi. And I mean, when I say take it all down, everything, smash it. And we had to rebuild it. And we had already been married, had kids, the whole thing. But I said, I don't like, because people were like, Hollywood doesn't care if you lose your family. Mm-hmm. They don't care. Hey man, we'll get you first of all, now you can do 4 movies. You don't have to go home because you don't have a home. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I was like, who do I want to be? And this is another thing I realized is when you watch all these big movies and all this stuff, it all fades away. Think about it. Who remembers what happened? Who won the Oscar 10 years ago?
I have no idea.
No idea. Who won the championship of the World Cup 15 years ago?
It's very
nobody. Athletes, actors, all of it is only as good as this year. Mm-hmm. It's only as good for now because everything else goes. But you know what really never goes away? You and the ones you love. It never goes anywhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's the legacy. The legacy is not a movie. The legacy is your family. And I went, holy God. Like it hit me, man, so hard. The legacy is what people say about you when you're gone. I want people to say, he was great to me. He was a good man. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's the legacy that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It gets bigger when you're gone, like years.
Not only what people say, but you have to feel that you are a good person, right?
You have to.
And some people can show the image of a good person, not being a good person. And also, there's a lot of people who shows this image of not that much of a good person, and you know them in person, like, this is such an amazing person.
Yeah.
There's people talk so many shit about this guy.
Yeah, but
and
you
all of a
meet
sudden
him.
They're like, what the fuck? This is
You start to realize, wait a minute, I'm getting the wrong picture.
Yeah.
This is another thing I love is the fact that you got to take everybody at their own, because don't believe what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Don't believe because first of all, the media wants enemies.
But that's what happened to me all the time, Terry, in my country. Because I'm a comedian, it happens all the time. People come to this podcast and they're like, I was worried. I was worried. Now that's so good. We have such a good connection. I was like, I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Tell the world.
Yeah.
But so the image sometimes doesn't match who you are. And you want this to match.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how much is the price you're going to pay for that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, you probably got some projects that people are not waiting for you to get. Some people want you to be in a box and you want to run away from the box.
Yep.
So it's like, what is the balance of pleasing my audience and being true to myself? Sometimes they don't match, and it's difficult.
Listen, I have a perfect example for that. You know what? A magnet. You ever see a magnet?
Mm-hmm.
A magnet, if you electrify it, it's strong and it's really the power that comes through, and people, what you seek is seeking you. The people will come to you. Boom, 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 boom. But one thing people forget about a magnet also repels.
Yes.
You flip it around. You can't push it together. That's everything. There are people who are not going to like you. There are people who are never going to like you. And that blew my mind. I was like, that's it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to please everybody.
Yeah.
You're a magnet for the people who it's like attracts like. Your people coming. But the people who don't like you are being repelled. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Yeah. All of it is natural. It's okay. Where I had a problem is when I was trying to bring the people who were repelling. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? Like, come here, no. And it's like, you can't do anything about it.
Because sometimes to reach them, you end up losing people who really want you.
Now, that phrase is called demagnetizing. When you lose your magnet. Mm-hmm. You don't ever want to lose the magnet. Now you're just like everything else. You're just sitting there on the table.
That's a very good metaphor.
Isn't it, dude? Isn't that a great metaphor? Don't lose
your... You came up with that. This is amazing. You read that in a very smart book.
But I'm a visual. I see it. And I was like, man, keep my magnet. Yeah. Keep my magnet. You don't have to apologize. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be all, I'm sorry. No, it's just, you're not for me. Mm-hmm. But the people that are for me, this is why I love Brazil. Because Brazil comes to me, it's like a magnet. Mm-hmm. And it's like, boom. And I love it. And I'm like, yes. There's some places, not me. No. I don't like them. Okay. Not my style. You're like, okay, but that's okay too. But what you don't want to be is demagnetized. Yeah. Nobody cares.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just sitting there like, whatever.
But nobody teaches you that.
Right.
Because if I had this conversation, like when things were like difficult in my career, someone said, you know what? Don't worry about the people who are not going to, you're not going to flip their minds. They're not going to just all of a sudden like, you know what? I like this guy. No, that's not going to happen. So just embrace who you are and that's it. Because sometimes you want to please, you don't want just, you want to be loved. That's why we are entertainers. Every entertainer want to be loved. Please, don't come with this thing that like, oh, no, I'm doing my own.
I don't care. No,
if you are doing your own art, you have an atelier for yourself at your house. A job for yourself. You want to show your art to people. So you want to please them.
Yes.
You don't want to be hated, but that happens. And then what can you do? Nothing.
And it hurts. First of all, it hurts. When you get rejected, it hurts. Hey, you're a comedian.
This is very therapeutic for me.
Yeah, no. It's listen, I'm talking to me too. You know what I mean? This is very therapeutic for me because it hurts. Mm-hmm. When you reject it, it hurts. But you need it.
Yeah.
You need it because that's the only way you're going to find out what works. You're a comedian, man. The only way to find out what's funny is the bomb.
Yeah.
Is when you find out the joke didn't work.
It's brutal, but you got to do it.
It's brutal, man. First of all, the workout hurts. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it. Like, you get stronger. You get better. You learn the right path. But man, and if you quit, you're not going to be strong enough to take it. So when people are like, I don't like it, or even coming at you really hard and like, he's mean, he's supposed to do this and he's doing it. And it started to get real judgmental about who you are. Then after a while, you start to, you want to be liked, so you change a little bit and it doesn't work. The best thing people could ever go through is to get canceled. I really do. I feel like once you get through that and you go, I'm still here. I'm alive.
Harry,
this is good.
you're right.
I've been canceled several times for different things. And people go, and you realize that those are the repellers. Those are the people who are the opposite side of the magnet. Just not going to work.
We call this in Brazil, separar o joio do trigo. It's because this is something you do. You're like just separating.
Yeah.
It's like beans and rice.
Yeah.
Okay, rice is not going to be with me, but I want good beans.
It doesn't. But is anything wrong with the rice? No.
No.
Anything
okay.
wrong with the beans? No. It's just, you're not for me.
Yeah.
Some things don't, oil, water, doesn't mix.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're trying to do. Try to mix it for the rest of your life. It's not going to work. And that's okay. But what happens is when you find what your purpose is, you need to be oil. You know what I mean? Oil's on fire.
Yeah.
Oil, we can use it. We can roll with it. You know what I mean? I want to be that oil.
Yeah.
I want to be, you can water.
You don't want to be water that just adapt to things. You put water and water that adapt to
It
things.
just soaks in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, I'm oil. I want to be that oil. I want to be special. I want to smell good. I want to be great. You can put something right there. You be good. I want to make it. You can use it in your car. You can make it go. I'm that guy, and I the passion that I have for this business will never end. Like every day I wake up, man, I'm like, oh man, I get to do this. I get to do this, and it comes from. And this is another thing is I write down my goals. Like I write down what I want to be. And a lot of times, if I showed you that thing, you'd be like, this is crazy. This is so big. But I made my goals super, super big so that I have to change to get into it. You know what I mean? Like if your goal is really, if you set your goal low, it's too easy. Like you're gonna go and you're like, oh, woke up. All right, I did it. It's all good.
But what is a huge thing in that list? Just tell me one.
I'll tell you. Like for one thing for me, and I'll tell you an old goal that I hit. There was a time I said I want to be known all over the world. Like that was my thing. And at the time, I was nothing. Like nobody. And I was like,
where were you at that time?
Oh, it was like I was doing. I remember I had just done my first movie, which was called The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nobody knew my name. And I remember this was the thing, you would go on the red carpet, and my wife and I, we were like, the red carpet for this movie. And what was crazy is that there were other stars there. And so you get on the red carpet, and they would call out the names, Arnold, and people would like, and you would be like, wow. And then I walked in, and they were like,
oh.
And sometimes they put the camera down. And you're like, but I'm, hello. And they,
Did you feel bad?
Oh, I felt crushed. And I said, and I went home, I said, I want to be known all over the world. I want to, like, it hurt my feelings because I'm in this movie and they were like, what's his name again? Who is he? You know what I mean? And they're like, Terry Crews, C-R-U-Z, no, C-R-E-W-S. They're like, okay, you can move. And then another guy would come in, no. And I was like, oh. And I told my wife was like, it's okay. I was like, no, that hurts. That really hurts. And so what I did, and this is another thing.
That's brutal, bro.
Oh, it's brutal.
Going through that.
But let me tell you what I did to combat that. It was a trick. It's a crazy trick. What I said is, okay, they don't know who I am. But the point is, for these photographers, they have to sell pictures. Because that's why they're like, we need Arnold because you can sell the picture. So what I said is, if I give them something to sell, they'll take the picture. So what I did is I jumped on the red carpet and I said, hey guys, I'm going to jump. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. And I would jump and they take my picture and I'd be in the middle of the air.
So it's gonna be a lot of really famous people in this fun picture.
And this guy, we don't know his name, but he's doing this.
It's a good picture.
If you look over 20 years,
That's smart. That's smart.
You can Google Terry Crews jumping on the red carpet, and it's like 400 pictures of me jumping on the red carpet, and it would always end up in People magazine.
Nice.
It would end up in the paper. It would, because they were like, we want that picture. All everyone is standing there, but he is moving.
When they have those galleries, it's good to have that one in the middle. Because it's like Arnold and Sylvester. Oh, look at this guy jumping.
Yeah,
pretty fun. Who's this guy?
Is he in the movie?
Terry Crews, no Z.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And listen, over years of doing that was my way of combating how I felt. But I wrote it down. I want to be known all over the world. Now, dude, it's so crazy, man. I was in Japan, and people were like, Terry Crews. And I'm going, these people can't even speak English. They're like, Terry Crews. And you're like, oh. And then I go to South Africa. I go to Brazil. I go to Europe. They're like, Mr. Crews, And you're like, oh, it's happened. But it was big. Like, that's a big goal.
He's huge.
It's
the biggest.
Huge
it's the
goal. But it changes. It makes you do something to get that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It changes you.
Makes you go for it.
And you have to be that kind of person. And I do that a lot. Like, I set those kind of goals a lot. You may never ever hit it, but it changes what you do and how you have to think in order to become that. You know what I mean?
It's good to have something to search and to look for. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just that guy.
Do you, when you're talking about the football in the past and you in Flint, Michigan, who was that Terry?
Wow. Who, like the example?
No, I'm saying like, what if you were 6 years old right now, what will you be doing?
First of all, I would be, now, looking back, my mother was very religious. Okay, when I say religious, I was not allowed to go to the movies. I wasn't allowed to dance. Wasn't allowed to. We weren't allowed to listen to secular music. It was always gospel. It was always church music. It was so many things. Everything I do today, I was not allowed to do as a 6-year-old boy, and we would always be in church. So it was always prayer, always church, always this. And I would go to school, and everybody would be telling me about all these things, like, oh, you got to see this movie. And I was like, oh, what was it like? What was it like? And I had never seen it. I remember when Jaws came out, and everyone went back to school like, Jaws, the shark, and this. And I was like, oh, my God. And I was like, tell me the whole movie. And so I would just be visualizing and watching. And then I would go home and draw it. So I'm left-handed, right brain. I had an art scholarship, and I would draw nonstop. I would be at home because there's nothing else to do. So I would draw. There's me, 6-year-old Terry Crews. I would draw. And one thing my mother did let us do is look at comic books. And so I would draw the characters in the comic book. I would draw what happened in the movie. What I thought happened in the movie. So I'd show Jaws eating somebody, and my mother was like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" but I was going off what they told me in school, and I'll never forget the biggest one. And this is around when I was about 11 years old, but it was 1977 in Star Wars, when Star Wars came out. And I said,
the first one.
Okay. First one.
77, yeah.
And this is back, and this is back when a movie would be in a theater for almost 2 years. You know what I mean? Now you get a weekend, but Star Wars was in the theater for like years. But it was 77, and I begged my mother, I said, can I see Star Wars? Please, please. She said, nope, ain't go. And I was so hurt. I was because everyone was talking about it. I saw commercials for it. I was like, And my aunt, my mother's sister, came by and she said, you know you got to let those kids go see Star Wars. I'm going to take them. And my mother was like, and I said, please, can we go with her? Can we go with her? She said, okay. Rafi, it changed my life. I'll never forget. And this is back when we had to drive in. And we sat in this car and I got some popcorn. And the sun was going down and this big screen. And all of a sudden, the John Williams score hits. Dun, 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 and you see the words. Dun, 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 dun. I never moved. I was like, pew, 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 pew. This is my life. I have to do this. If I don't do this, I'll never be happy. And I remember just seeing Star Wars and Darth Vader and all that. And I was like, and I remember going home like, I just couldn't move. It was everything. And you talking about a guy, remember, I couldn't do anything. All of a sudden, just seeing this movie that was like, took me to a whole nother world and took me in a whole nother thing that I didn't even know was possible. C-3PO and you know, you're just going, R2-D2, these are real people to me. Like, I was like, I'm young and I'm drawing it. I'm just drawing it. Now, I used to make spaceships out of styrofoam that I would get out of boxes. And so I would put wings on it and paint it and make ships out of it. Everything was like that. And I just was consumed. I said, I have to do this. And this is the thing. I was not an actor, so to speak. When I met my wife and we were just hanging out, and we were dating, and I said, listen, first of all, I'm going to play in the NFL, and then we're going to move to LA and we're going to make movies. Because I knew that was the only thing I was going to be happy. That was the only thing going to make me happy. And she said, okay. And so I did not know I would be in front of the camera. I thought I was going to be a creator. Mm-hmm. I thought I would be working maybe in a special effects place or whatever. I had no idea that in front of the camera.
So when you watched Star Wars and you said you want to do this, you were not thinking that you would be Harrison Ford.
Not at all. No, I thought I would be the guy.
Pew guy.
I would be the guy handing him his lightsaber. Like, yo, there you go, go, you know. Or I was going to be the guy who's going to design, you know, Darth Vader's new this, or design the ship that they're going to fly. Because they were like the TIE fighters. And I was like, oh, and I remember watching Battlestar Galactica on TV. You know what I mean? I was like, ooh, those spaceships and the Cylons and those creatures. And I knew all this stuff. Because I just went into it 100%, and I said, I'm going to create my own little science fiction thing. And I was a nerdy little kid, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But what happened was we moved to LA to get behind the scenes. And I said, okay, I can, and nothing worked. I was sweeping floors. My first job in LA, after playing football, I had to sweep floors at this factory.
You moved to LA from Flint?
From football. See, football, I was not a star.
Okay.
I was.
We talk about football, but go with the movie. Go with the movie.
Yeah, but you know, I was not a star.
Okay.
And I didn't make a lot of money. And me and my wife decided, okay, it's time. And my wife told me, you said you want to move to LA, let's move to LA. So we moved, and I didn't know anybody. And I had to start from scratch.
But how was it? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Terry, but how was it for you to be this creative guy, an artist, but at the same time big and playing football?
Yeah, I know.
How those two words lived inside of you?
Well, first of all,
because there's a sense that you're a sensitive guy on this side and thinking and creating. I want to be the guy who draws stuff and all that, but at the same time lifting weights and like just hitting people.
Listen, I've always been weird.
That's weird.
That's another thing too. I mean, it's just weird. Mm-hmm. It's like, huh? I had different desires. I had different things, and people would look at me like, what? Mm-hmm. I said, I want to play football and I want to be an artist. And I made a decision to do both. And they told me, teachers, coaches, I would go to art class and they said, hey, you're going to have to give up this football. You might break your hand. Mm-hmm. I said, never. The coach on the football team said, hey, you got to give up this art stuff. You won't be good at football. I said, never. Mm-hmm. I remember I would put my portfolio down, put my helmet up, because I wanted it all. I said, why not? Why can't you have it all? I wanted the glory that came with football, and I wanted the glory that came with art. But another thing is when I would get cut from an NFL team, I would go back in the locker room and I would ask the players if they wanted their portraits painted. And I would painting portraits of the players. And it helped me survive till I get on another team, because I said, I'm going to use my art. It's never going to go away. And once I got to Hollywood, I said, okay, and I had my portfolio in at Disney, at DreamWorks, at Hanna-Barbera, all this stuff. But this was happened, man. Hand-drawn animation went away. Everything was computer.
Yeah.
I was like in betweening and drawing. They were like, we don't do that anymore. I went, no. That's why I had to sweep floors. Because they were like, if you know how to do a computer, I was like, I don't know the computer stuff. I don't know how to do it. And because I've been too busy playing football, and I was like, I didn't learn the computer stuff. And they were like, sorry. And I was like, But little did I know, that was the key to me being in front of the camera. Because I was there, and it all ran out, all my positions ran out, a friend of mine invited me to a TV show audition called Battle Dome. And the TV show was basically like American Gladiators.
Well, I saw you in American Gladiators in Brazil.
Yeah.
Because that thing was in this TV
Battle
station
Dome.
called Bandeirantes.
Yeah.
is a TV station that I worked for years.
Yes.
But I remember, so the first time I saw you in a movie, I remembered you with a dollar sign in your
Yes,
chest.
T-Money.
T-Money,
Yes.
that was the guy.
Yes.
And I was like, of course I know this guy. And I made the whole connection. So it's kind of crazy because you were able to use your physical abilities in front of the camera.
Right. That was the first
That was the
thing.
perfect match for you.
It was perfect because I was an athlete.
Yeah.
Now, had I not been an athlete, I couldn't have done it. But I remember going to Mexico. It was so wild. We on a trip it was a festival, and they were like, "Te dinero, te dinero." Because remember, wrestling and stuff hit really big in Mexico, and it was kind of a wrestling-ish feel. So
you still have it, the lucha libre.
Yes, lucha libre. First of all, the first thing I ever auditioned for was that. Because my wife I said, should I do it? She said, we ain't got nothing else. Why not? And I got it. I was like, I'm in front. And I said, And listen, this is what's so crazy. I did not know that was my destiny. I did not. It's like if you gave Neymar Jr. a soccer ball, and he's like, what is this? He didn't know. He doesn't know that it was his destiny. That was the same thing for me. Like, I didn't know that acting was supposed to be where I was. This is why it's so important that you try everything. It's really important. You just just try it. Because if you try it, you go, wait a minute. And all of a sudden, it changes your perspective. But what happens is you're doing things that people think you should be doing. You know what I mean? You got to do this and this and this. So you go, yeah. So you don't try new things. But I always was willing to try new stuff. And I never had anybody to judge me because I didn't go to, and this is another thing, as an actor, I didn't go to acting school. So I could try anything. A lot of actors was like, you can't do commercials. I was like, yes, I can. And they were like, and the Old Spice came. I was like, let's do Old Spice. And they were like, and I did the whole power. And people were
Was that your creation, the power?
Well, this is what happened. It was kind of a mix because they kept telling me to do stuff and I would do it bigger. So they'd say power, and I was like, some people go power. I was like, power, and I would put everything in there. They're like, oh, that's what we want. Listen, the first time I did this, they were like, yes, do that again. The first time we did the commercial, we made 3 commercials in the same day because they were like, do that again, and then do that. And then I was like, okay. And I was like, I remember block. I was doing all that. They were like, okay, we're going to make another commercial.
Did that make you feel that you had something special?
Oh, because the way they were acting, like they were sitting there going, oh, and I was like, oh, I love this. You got to understand too, I'm a show off. Like,
it's okay.
You know when it's working, and people can't take their eyes off you, you go, oh, this is so much fun. Like,
that's awesome.
I'm sure you know, when you're on stage and people are cracking up.
Yeah.
Isn't that the best feeling in the world?
I did commercials. It was my first thing as an actor, as a performer, when I moved to São Paulo. São Paulo is the big city. I was in Porto Alegre, which is the city in the south. I moved to São Paulo. Commercials were the first thing for me. And it's crazy that you're saying, like, actors say that you cannot do this and you cannot do that. The fact that you didn't have the training made you more natural, didn't have the whole, oh, look at this and look at that. You're you. And all of a sudden people are like, you know what? I like this guy. Commercials, I think, is the more fair thing for an entertainer because there's a line of 200 people.
Yep.
They don't know who those people are. And all of a sudden, if they like you, you're going to get the job.
That's it.
So it's a fair business.
You got the look. You're what I wanted.
Yes.
And this is the thing too, man. I mean, when you look at the whole commercial thing and just doing what you did, it taught me a lot. But again, what was so good. I didn't have anybody judging me because I didn't know what was going on. I'm gonna give you a thing that I used to do, and this is when I first started acting. I didn't know the technique, so I would go to a director, and then they would go, "Okay, Terry, we're gonna do this." I said, "Look, what is this one gonna do? I'm gonna give you a 10, which is big." Because one thing the casting agents were always like, "Oh, he's so big." I said, "I'll give you a 10." Now, you tell me if that's too much, because you can never go up.
Yeah.
They can never turn you up, but they can always turn you down.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one will be big. I said, now, when you see the big one, tell me, what's the next one you want? 7. It was, do a 7. All right. Then do a 5. All right. Do a 3. All right.
Yeah.
And I said, so
down.
tell me a number. If you give me a number and I can play with that, and give me a 1. All right, that's good. And they would go, so they would go, 5. Okay, go with this one at about 5. How about that? And I'll give them the whole thing at a 5. And that was the way I learned. That was the way, and that was the way I got a director to talk to me. Because I didn't know what technique to use. Because I knew there are actors who were like, I'm only going to give you this.
Yeah.
And that's it. Sorry.
No, you were willing to adapt.
I was like, no. If you want me to, I'll give you. They said, no, Terry, give me a 10. All right, here we are. And I was like, yeah. T-Money was all 10.
Yeah.
It was 10.
And how do you go from being in that show, which is very physical, to just do films? And because it's a different game, you know?
What happened, it is a different game. And that was the thing. I remember doing that, and I got an opportunity to audition for that movie with Arnold. And I remember they said, the casting agent was like, I like your look. You're too nice. She said, go in there and be really mean to the director.
Wow.
And so I walked in, I was like, what's up? Yeah. All right. And he was like, can you do this? I was like, what? I said, no, it's and he wouldn't even look me in the eye. And I was like, and I was just looking at him like, what do you want, man? Dude. And he was like, I got the part.
Okay.
And the casting agent was like, like this. So I got the part, and I didn't know how to act on a movie.
Okay.
But Michael Rooker, who's been super famous. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in he's been so ever. He was my the star, and he was like, Terry, okay. I said, oh, man, I don't know what to do. He said, Terry, he gave me the best advice ever. He said, if you're acting and you got to itch your nose, itch it, scratch it. And I went, like, because what I used to be is like saying my line, like, oh, I've got to say my line. It was like that.
Be a human.
He was like, dude, if your nose, he said, let me show you. So instead of going, no, he said, hey, so, yeah, what I want to do right now. And I was like, oh, that looked natural. He said, that's what I'm telling you. He said, Terry, just be you. And I went, oh my God. And he was teaching me. I learned everything on the fly. He was like, okay, I'm going to step over here. And when I step in, I want you to take my place in the scene. And I did that. And it was like, I said, it's working. It's working.
That's awesome.
It's working. And so that was the beginning. And I just, this is the thing too. I was open, like just wide open. I was exhausted at the end of the day though. Like, because it's like learning how to drive. Yeah. It's like the first time you learn how to drive, you're like, try to back up. You're like, oh my God, the world is crazy. You're like, I don't even know. And that's how, and I would go home like, I can't.
Tired.
I'm so tired. But it gets easier. But one thing I learned is to embrace how uncomfortable.
Oh, perfect.
But again, this is why I love comedians. comedians embrace the uncomfortable.
That's where that's where you find the good stuff.
It's dude.
In comedy, that's where you find it.
And it's hard. Wait,
It can be comfortable for you. It can be comfortable for the audience. It can be comfortable for everybody. But all of a sudden, you just swim your way out of it.
you
then
throw
you
yourself
come-
in the deep end.
Yeah.
You are right, and that swimming is a perfect example because you're like, you can drown, but you're like, no, I'm not gonna drown. I'm just gonna keep swimming. But you're tired.
Yeah.
You're definitely tired.
Yeah,
You're definitely
but also you
exhausted.
don't want to be just like, you want to go deep. You want to go deep. You just don't want to be just swimming to see, I'm swimming. Look at this.
Yes.
This is so good. And then you're going to be swimming like this for all your life.
Yes.
You want to be deep. You want
Yeah,
to be,
you want to listen. You want to know that you can play with the best. Like that's the thing with the NFL. Like nobody wants you to, mail it to them or be gentle. You know what I mean? It's like who wants that? You want your opponent to go hard so you know you're good. You know what I mean? I don't want you to be gentle with me and the whole thing. It's like I learned that even with other actors and stuff. They want you to. I remember, the first time I was doing a scene with Stallone, even in Expendables, and you start to think like, I want to be careful. He's like, hey man, bring it with me, man. Don't come here soft. I was like, yeah. So when we're talking, it's like hard. He's like, yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. And people enjoy it coming for real. You don't want to play. You want to play at its highest level. And this is another thing I learned is don't be afraid to get tired. Never be afraid to get tired. Because I used to be like, oh my God, I'm learning, and it's just like, and exhausting. But dude, you're building your wind. And that's the only way to get better, is to get tired.
Of course.
And this is another thing. If you're not tired, did you ever really play? Think about it.
Yeah.
If you were ever in a game and your uniform's clean and you're fresh, and you're like, you didn't play the game.
You didn't play.
You didn't play.
Yeah, you're right.
At the end of the game, if it's the championship, you want to be on your knees. You want dirt all over your jersey. You want to be like, you want to be sweat, funky, stinky.
The reward's
and be like,
better, it's bigger.
It. I won. It makes it like.
Do you feel like this is, and more than that, like, did football taught you how to be an actor, you think?
I think so. Oh,
What is the connection there?
You know where the connection is?
Because when you you're talking about like NFL, I didn't make money, but you were in the NFL, which is already something huge. Do you feel like you did everything you needed to do there?
Well,
or do you carry some kind of frustration? Because I play basketball all of my life. Not at the level you play football, professional for like 2 or 3 years. People are going to make fun of me because I always say that I play basketball. I always try to put the basketball in every conversation I have. But I carry a lot of frustrations.
Yeah.
I do. That's why I talk a lot. Because I feel like if I focus more, I could go further. I don't know. I always talk about this because there's something there. Do you have it, or you feel like you did everything you had to?
I'll tell you this. I did everything I knew to do at the time. Looking back, I go, I could have done better. You know what I mean? You always can tell yourself. You can fool yourself. There were times I stayed up too late and should have studied more, should have worked a little harder. But you feel like, I'm doing good, I'm doing enough. But if I had done all the little things, I would have done it. But this is the thing I learned. I wasn't going to make that mistake again in entertainment. I was going to do all the little things.
Yes.
I was going to take care. It was a lesson I had to learn. But the other lesson I learned, which was wonderful about the NFL, was people, the characters in the locker room. I mean, when people see white chicks, I based that on real people that I knew in the NFL locker room. He was an athlete, but he was a basketball player. But Latrell was based on real people.
Was this guy called Latrell too?
Yeah, no, he wasn't called Latrell. But I'm not going to say his name.
You know who he was.
But I knew. I said, "Oh, this is this guy." He'd be like, excuse me, my beautiful black sister. Could you pass this number to that white girl right behind you, please? And it was like, what in the world this dude? He's like, woo, look at that right there. That's a snow bunny, boy. And wait, I knew guys, they were like, they wanted the blonde, blue-eyed, and he's darker than me, but he was like, oh. And I said, this is the guy. This is the guy. But all my characters were like that. It was somebody in the locker room that I could really pin into. Even when I did Friday After Next with Ice Cube, and I did even Expendables, there were characters and people that I could channel. And it taught me how to act because it's so full of personality.
Yeah, it's like 90 people in every team.
Dude, yes, what I'm saying. It's just all these. You had just preachers. You had killers. We had gangsters. We had and everything in between. You had the nice guys. You had the country guy. Hey, what up, man? How y'all doing? You're like, everybody was in there, and I was like, oh, I could base something. It was like character study. You know what I mean? And so there were people who were like policemen. They were busy with their uniforms and business and the way they studied. And I was like, oh, like that guy, you know? And I remember just channeling characters and people. The best thing about being an actor is that you got to live real life. The best actors live. Like Sam Jackson had a whole life before he started acting. You know what I mean? And by living, you get to see, and you get to pull on that. But when you see a young actor who's never lived, it's hard. After a while, they kind of run out of people.
They get insane.
Yeah.
They don't have a life.
They don't.
They didn't see what you see. They never got frustrated with football, with family, or anything like that. They were born in that environment, and that's a lot.
Listen, early success is a terrible teacher. You know what I mean? If you get it too early and you're like, oh, well, that's it. I won. Yay. It's horrible because it doesn't teach you how to overcome anything. So the minute you go on an obstacle, it's like, oh, no, they crumble. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like, I'm really glad when I look back, because at the time, you don't understand. You're just like, why? But now I'm at the age where I can look back and be thankful for the obstacles because it made me who I am, you know? And I faced a lot of obstacles, some things I didn't think I was ever going to come back from. A lot of things I thought. We were talking even earlier where you're like, I think this is it. I think I'm not going to make it. Listen, I'll never forget, you know, I went public about what William Morris, this agent who was my agent. He was the head of the motion picture department. He was Sly's agent, Eddie Murphy's agent, the whole thing. He grabbed me at a party, man. And he literally grabbed my privates. I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing?
I don't know if Brazil know that story so much, you know? It's crazy. Because like, here it was huge, but I don't know. I opened for questions. Nobody talked about this. So I was like, that was big. That was
the thing. It was the pinnacle. It was the moment when I was like, that's it.
Sorry, I interrupt you. The guy grabbed
No, he grabbed me. He grabbed me and he grabbed me. He's high or drunk or whatever. And I'm like, get off me, man. And he's like, oh, whatever. And I was so mad. I'll never forget. I was so mad. I wanted to kill him. But my wife was like, hey, you know, no one will believe you. If you knock this guy out, what is everybody going to say? They're going to say, they're not going to believe you, that he grabbed you and did something weird. I was like, I know. And then when Me Too happened and everyone was going out against Weinstein, I remember thinking like, that happened to me. And I didn't kill the guy. And they were like, and everybody was dogging these women out. They were like, oh yeah, you did it because you just wanted to be famous. You know, and that's the price of fame, is that, you know, you probably slept with them. And then they were calling them sluts. They were calling them whores. And I said, hey man, I'm not a slut. I'm not a whore. That happened to me. And I said, man, that's not right. And I remember just tweeting about it. And I put these tweets out and it just said, hey, man, that happened to me, man. Like, this is what happened. I wanted to kill the guy, but I didn't. And I said, but I have to join in and say, you guys are mischaracterizing these women and you're acting like they asked for it. And they didn't.
Of course, because if you're a man with the body that you have,
Right.
and already was embarrassed with that situation, can you imagine being a woman, feel like physically she doesn't feel like she can react? Because her first reaction is not, I'm going to kill the guy. It's like,
What's she going to do?
what am I going to do?
Imagine you get off the bus, you're in Hollywood, and some agent or whatever is like, hey, come on over, you're going to give you a movie. And she's like, oh, and all you find out it's something else. And it's like, no, crushing. And they send you out and whatever, and now all of a sudden, you're never going to work again, goodbye. they don't have any power. But see, this was where I realized what my purpose was. Like, I realized that I've been put in a position to be an example, to be this person, because this is the thing. My wife told me, and she said, Terry, there's no woman in your life that hasn't been through that. I was like, yeah, but she said, so you know what though? The way you can fight this, you got to be smart. You got to be smart about it. You can't fight with your fists. You have to fight with your mind. And I sued him. And by me going public though, people were like, Terry, you're too big. And I should have never. But I was like, it happened. What does that mean? I said, just because you beat somebody up doesn't mean it didn't happen. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. And then what happened was all these men in Hollywood came forward and said, yeah, that happened to me too. They were quiet. They didn't say anything. Even if you deny it, doesn't mean it didn't happen. You know?
I'm pretty sure it was a difficult decision for you to go public because you knew that it would be some backlash of people like, this guy? He can kill everybody in the set, and
they were like, it doesn't make sense.
It kind of probably a lot of people, a lot of men saw what you did, and they were like, I want to talk about it too. If this guy was able to be open about it, I think I can be too.
But remember, there's the image, and everybody's like, he's from the Expendables. That doesn't make sense. He should be able to shoot him. He's T-Money.
Yeah,
he should be able to slam him on his head. But none of that stuff works can you shoot people in real life? Can you slam people on their head in real life? You're going to jail. You're not going to go anywhere. But see, in a movie, yeah, great. In a movie, I can kill 40 people.
Yeah.
In real life, you can't even give people paper cuts.
Yeah, you're right. In America, a place where there's like billboards of lawyers in every corner. You cannot even curse at someone. All of a sudden, you have this huge lawsuit against you.
You can't bump into somebody by mistake. Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's $4 million.
Yeah. It's a whole industry.
So listen. In real life, it doesn't work. And so this is the thing, man. When I came out with that, I came home, and I'll never forget, I was sitting on the set of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I said, I came home with my wife. I said, I tweeted about the incident. She went, what?
What?
I said, I think it's over. And she went, what do you mean? I said, I think we're out. I said, no one's going to believe me, going to want to hire me as an actor anymore. I said, I used to be this guy, and now people are going to know, they're going to think that. Because you remember, a lot of women that this happened to were just blackballed. Like, you're out. I said, I thought it's going to happen to me too. I said, honey, I think we're done. And she said, you know what? Good. Because we were done with football, you found something else. We'll be done with Hollywood, and we'll find something else. I said, you with me? She said, I'm with you. And that was it. But what happened was opposite. We had people come to my support, and we had a lot of people come and join me. And in fact, what happened was that I had people join my case that this man had done the same thing to.
Oh, there was more people. Okay.
Of course. You don't rob the biggest bank.
That helped a lot probably, right?
You don't rob the biggest bank in LA. You rob the little ones on the way, and then you go, I can get this big bank. And all of a sudden people join my case.
And sometimes you rob a bank that is small in the beginning, the bank become huge, and all the bank has power, and then people are like, oh yeah.
And then they got rid of them. And then not only that, is that because I came forward, people saw and they were like, wow, they saw the risk. They saw it and they understood. Because, I mean, what's the purpose of lying about something like that? Like, it's just,
there's no reason.
It's no advantage. But I didn't do it to get money. I didn't do it to get fame. I did it to support because there were so many women who this has happened to. And I said, you know what? If we as men don't stand up and say, no, this is not right, it'll never change.
It's a brave decision, Terry, to just join this, because you had a lot to lose. So we were talking before, like, I know you're careful with the decisions that you make, the causes that you join. You don't want to be known as this controversial guy. You are a likable human being. You're doing American Got Talent, which is like a family show. So you gotta choose the fights. But at the same time, like, so there's some fights that you need to embrace, right?
That was the fight. That was the fight. I said, this is the one. You know what I mean? And there were a couple others. I remember during 2020, and people got mad, and there was a lot of race things going on in the United States. But I was like, hey, man, the stance that I always said was that, I don't care, white, black, whatever color. If you're my brother, you're my brother. And there were a lot of black people that got mad at me. Because they were like, no, Terry, no, you're supposed to be on our side. And I said, I got brothers that are white that are my brothers. I said, I'm sorry.
People thought that you're doing this because of the industry.
Nope. No,
Yeah.
right.
You've heard that, right?
Oh, totally. They thought, you're trying to...
Just want to play the game.
You're trying to kiss ass
Yeah.
so you can keep your roles. But I already gave my roles up. The first time, those are white people. Sorry. You can't do that. You can't dangle that because I already had made that fight. But on the other side, I was like, hey, man, you got to stand. I said, there are good people, black, white, everybody. I said, you can't demonize everybody because, there are people who are literally like, white people are the devil. And you're like, come, stop. I said, not when the guy that robbed me was black. You can't, you're like, you got to stick with good people. And I said, that's the hill I'm about to die on here. And I faced a lot of backlash. And I understood it because what happened was wrong. But we can't say, you can't just cover this thing with a big brush. And I think that now, which is one good thing in 2024, even given some distance, I think everyone is seeing that there's nuance. There's everything is not hero villain.
Even with the Me Too stuff. Even with the Me Too stuff. Yeah.
Even with Me Too. There's a lot of bad guys, but there are some people who were wrongly accused. There were people who were not guilty.
There were also some women that felt that this was an abuse, but actually the guy didn't know. He was like, oh, this was just a date.
Dude, exactly.
That happened a lot. But at the same time, the radicalization, it helps the cause if you think about it.
Yeah.
The beginning, just to have a little flame, and then you go down and have somebody like you that goes, you know what? Let's think about it a little. So
let me tell you, I got the perfect example. Fire at the right level, you cook with it. But fire too low, you can't do nothing. You can't even get warm.
yes,
Fire too high, you burn it all
burn
down.
everything.
So are we about to burn it all down? No. You know what I mean? Extremes don't work.
Yeah.
Either way. No, any extreme. But fire at the right temperature cooks.
But when you light the fire at first, he goes,
Yeah.
and then you're what?
Yeah.
And no, this is the fire you're gonna get.
That's good.
In the beginning, it
I'm
is.
telling you, Robbie, that is the example. This is what I love. This is what I love. And it's almost like, the fire, it's nuance. It's like, think about this and think about that.
Yeah.
Now you're cooking. Now we're adding things.
As long as you're thinking and not just reacting.
Thank you.
Is already enough.
Well, now everybody's like, I don't like this. I don't like you are problematic. I was like, well, I'm problematic, period. First of all, my name is problematic. Me being a black man in Hollywood walking around, I'm problematic just because I exist. So what now? If I fight for women's rights but wait, you're a father with kids and a wife and whole thing. And problematic, isn't it? It's just problematic.
Yeah.
I'm a black man in America. I'm a problem.
Yeah, I know, my friend.
You know what I mean? But it's okay. Like, you start to realize that's the magnet stuff. It's gonna attract and then you're just gonna repel. And you realize that's okay. There's some people who like you, some people who don't. And and both of them are fine.
I think you navigate this thing with clarity, and that's very good. That's very good. It's difficult. We cannot end this conversation without talking about Everybody Hates Chris. People are going to kill me. I could talk to you for like 3 hours.
I love it. I love it.
People love the show.
Yes.
It's a show that was almost, if it was in Portuguese, it would be a Brazilian show.
Yes, absolutely.
Because people love it so much. And also, I don't know if you know that in Brazil, is in this TV station called SBT, which is like the TV station for the people, you know? So it matches so well, the whole thing. How did you get that part?
Wow. This is so great.
Tell me.
First of all, I was doing a movie about football called The Longest Yard, which was so amazing with Chris Rock. It was Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Burt Reynolds, and a bunch of wrestlers, football players, all of us, and we were in prison, and we shot it in Santa Fe, and we were there, and I remember being on this set, and it was so much fun. We had a great time, and my wife and kids came up. And we were all there, and we were just having the best time. And Chris Rock was watching. Like, he was looking. And I was like, I introduced my wife, introduced my kids to him, and he was like, oh. And he said, I'll never forget, we were doing some promotion for the movie, and he watched me as a dad. And he said, you know, I got something for you. I got something for you. And it was really weird because I thought, oh, yeah, I don't know what it is. I said, what is it? He said, I can't tell you now, but I'll tell you later. And I went home, and it wasn't a week later, there was the script that was on my door. And this is back before people emailed scripts. You know, they would they have a messenger, would come over with a script.
It was not just something for you. You're going to be my father. Yeah. It's a lot.
No.
It was not a something. It was a lot.
He never said what it was, right? So I'm looking, and I get this script. Like, it says, everybody, because at the time, there was a TV show called Everybody Loves Raymond. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at the title, and I laughed. Like, Everybody Hates Chris. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That just the title. I said, oh, that's a play on Ray Romano.
Ray Romano.
So I opened it up, and I'm going, what part does he want me to play? Because this is amazing. And I realized, oh my God. And then the letter came with it. It said, Julius Rock. Now, this is why it's so special. I am the only character on that show that's based on his real dad, like real name. Even the mom is a new name. Okay. Because his father passed away. And Julius Rock is his real name, who he really was, and the whole thing. Where even the brother, he had more brothers and more things. But so what you're talking about, Drew and Tanya, is kind of encapsulated in the other people, other brothers and sisters. But with me, I represent something real in his life. His dad is his inspiration. And I went, oh my God, and I will never forget just reading, I went all the way to the end. It was like, man, unplug that clock, boy. You can't tell time when you sleep. You know, and I was like, oh, he was looking at the prices of everything. That's $2.99 in the trash. You know, and I'm going, and then it reminded me of people I grew up with. And I was like, this guy, I know this guy. I'm seeing this man. It reminded me parts of my own father, but other people in my neighborhood. Remember, Flint was going through it. So I remember people having to save money and and I was like, oh, I hope this goes. And we shot the pilot. We got picked up. I'll never forget the day we got picked up. And when we got picked up, we were flown. I was at the premiere. This is crazy, man. The same day, the show got picked up the same day as the premiere of Longest Yard, the movie I did with Chris Rock.
That was a fun day. Yeah.
What a day. Wait, and let me tell you how amazing this day was, because this was a mind-blowing day. This day was so mind-blowing. I don't think anybody should be allowed to have this much
joy in 24 hours.
In 24 hours, I was at Radio City Music Hall announcing Everybody Hates Chris, and all the media in New York City, Chris Rock there, me, Tashina, and the crowd is laughing at the clips because Chris is getting beat up, right? He's like, and everybody's laughing. And everybody says, and they're clapping like, this show is amazing. We get picked up. We go to the airport. I get on a private jet. Chris Chris says, I get on Chris Rock's private jet. We fly to L.A., get off the plane for the premiere of The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler. All this, and I'm going, what a day! In the morning, I'm in New York. At night, I'm at the premiere. I said, babe, can you believe this life? This is why I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
It makes me choked up. But you see,
I know.
people want to talk about, like, why are you so happy? I'm like, you know what I've got? You know what I've seen? You know where I'm from? This is a kid who couldn't watch the movies. I'm a kid who wasn't allowed.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean?
That's
To go
amazing.
from that to this, that's Mars.
That's beautiful.
We're on Mars now. I'm on Mars. Not only am I on Mars, I'm on Mars with Chris Rock and Adam Sandler.
I'm in a private jet in
yeah.
Mars.
And I'm like, I had never flown private before. I'm going, this is a whole nother. Anyway, it's just a jet and we can eat whatever we want. And I'm going, I don't want to mess up anything. He's like, no, man, it's okay.
Crazy.
Dude, and that led to a beautiful 4 years. Because Tyler James Williams was this amazing kid who was so talented. And you see, now he's a superstar on Abbott Elementary and all. And then all the from Vincent Martella and Tashina and Amani Hakeem. It was just, I mean, I couldn't ask for more. And it was like being at home. When I would go from my house to my other house, which was on set.
That's crazy.
And it felt like that. Like I'm going home to my other home.
It's beautiful.
It's so good, man. So good. And then we got canceled. I'll never forget when it was like, oh no, we're not.
How many seasons you guys did?
Four
seasons. Okay.
And I remember we could do some more. And I thought, but. And they said, no, we're going to make another move. And then it hit all over the world because people got to see it in reruns over and over.
So when the show was on air here, it was not a hit outside of America.
It was okay. It wasn't a smash. You know,
in America, it wasn't a smash.
It was not. It was like, because they were like, oh, well, and it was just a nice show. And they said, okay, we'll just.
4 seasons. It's a victory.
4 seasons is
How many
I can't
shows,
complain.
they don't even come to the pilot. Just to do the pilot is already good. To have a first season, to have 4 seasons, that's a success. Bro.
I know. No, it was.
That's a lot.
Brilliant. But I was not prepared for even more success. Once the world got it, I wasn't ready for that. Like, again, I was like, we did good. That was good. But then when I saw how people responded in other places, they were like, oh, everybody's crazy. I mean, we went everywhere around the world, and then especially in Brazil. Brazil just said, this is our show. This is our people. This is our family. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe the response. It was big. It was more, I knew it was good, but it was a smash worldwide. And it still keeps going. Because this is another thing I like to say. It's a time capsule. It stays in the 80s. So you don't really, it's like you look backwards at time through a different lens. You know, if you were around there, or even, let's say you weren't there, it's a chance for kids today to look at what it was like back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We weren't walking around with cell phones in the TV show because you didn't have them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like a lot of things that there was no internet. Julius had to go to work. It wasn't anybody online or no.
And some sentences that you say on the show, they became part of. People wrote me so much today, like the biggest discount you can have is when you don't buy it.
Yeah, I know.
People said that so
Save
much.
more. Yeah. You know how much you can save? You can save more if you don't buy it.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
So happy that you came here. People are so excited about this. I was so happy to sit down with you, my friend, and talk. We could talk so much more, but that's
I love
awesome.
you.
Thank you. I love it so much.
Thank
my friend.
you,
That's awesome.
and I can't wait to go back to Brazil.
Please.
Listen, we were talking earlier.
Terry has plans in Brazil. That's the only thing I'm gonna say.
First of all, this is just the beginning. Brazil is going to be wide open for me. I am going to establish a few things there,
Awesome.
and I cannot wait to tell you. They're surprises. They're coming. But again, remember when I told you I would go from my house to Everybody's Chris to another house? I'm going to be able to go to America.
You're going to have a third
to
house,
my
huh?
new house in Brazil.
That's awesome.
You see what I mean? Because
That's awesome.
you guys, I love you guys. It's just, and you can't ask for more with this kind of love, man. And I just want to give it back. I love you.
Love you, my friend. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Guys, take care. Please watch more. And I just want to send a huge hug for my people in Porto Alegre in the South. You guys we are all struggling. We are thinking about you. I was talking to Terry. Terry knows about what's going on. So please keep tight. I'm going to put on the first comment some information about how you can donate some money to the causes there. Anything you can donate. Ajuda se você puder da maneira que você precisar, tá bom? Beijo grande. Take care.
Love you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Love you.